on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, proudly presented by the awesome team at the Wildcat Sports Pub, 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. They are the place to go to for game day and every day. You can head to the Wildcat to dine in on 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. And you can also go to them for takeout and delivery. So if you're watching the game at the house, you're having everybody over, well, you still need food, right? So head off to the Wildcat for takeout and delivery. 315-487-2222 is the number to put in your phone right now for game day and beyond. That's 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat. So make sure you get in touch with them today and order some awesome food, as well as go and enjoy the awesome digs that they have. Just a great location and a fantastic team led by Danny Tome. So big time shout out to them. This is the Fantasy Football Power Hour. I'm rocking the shirt, unveiling it here for the first time for this season. And it says The Good Life, watching football while hanging out with my dog. Shout out to Lily, my pup. We got plenty to discuss here, and we're going to jump right into it. That's the Week 1 schedule for 2024-25. I want to thank the National Football League for the graphic. The games are going to start off this 2024-25 season with the Baltimore Ravens and the Kansas City Chiefs. That game, God bless me, that game is going to be coming up on Thursday on NBC, Thursday Night Football at 8:20 p.m. Eastern Time. That game will be on. And then from Sao Paulo, Brazil, which funny here today because we just spoke to someone from Brazil from the Bryan and Stratton College Syracuse men's soccer team, a.k.a. football team, football, F-U-T-B-O-L, when we're talking about football. And Antonio Costa, the goalkeeper for the Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse, he's from Brazil. This game will be in Brazil, and it'll be a Friday night game, Green Bay and Philadelphia. And then we get into our Sunday schedule, our Sunday night football and Monday night football, and the hopeful return of a healthy all season long Aaron Rodgers as the Jets will travel to San Francisco. So, a lot of great stuff coming up here where sports meets life. Excited to have this conversation with you and excited to discuss these games in the Fantasy Football Power Hour. As always, if you have a question, feel free to write it in for any of your specific team. If you have, in this case, as we're going into Week 1, if you have a draft tonight and you have a question about drafting somebody, if someone got injured and you're looking to make moves, if someone proposed a trade to you, whatever it may be, or you're just trying to set your lineup, you know that we're here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora to help you all over the country and the world. We've been able to talk to people from all over, and I love being able to do that. So if you have a fantasy football question, make sure you send it over to us. Have a fantasy football question, reply to the message that we put on social media or to the video directly. So make sure that you do that. Very happy to be here with you and excited to have the conversation. So without further ado, let's go in to the first game that's going to start off this season of fantasy football and this season of the NFL in general, and that is our Baltimore Ravens, Kansas City Chiefs matchup here. Lamar Jackson and Pat Mahomes, those are the easy ones to pick in this matchup as well. I do want to let you know as we go through this, if there's injuries or something that I have to make mention of, in that case, I will definitely do that. So if there's someone to kind of just let you know, and of course, we're doing these videos live on a Wednesday so that you have them, like I said, for Thursday all the way through Monday Night Football. And so there might be someone who on the injury report is healthy, or maybe somebody goes on after we do this show. So if you have a question that is timely in that moment, make sure you reply to this video directly or this audio message, and I'd be happy to help you out and do everything I can to make sure that you have the information that you need in the most timely of fashion. But you got to send it over to us and make sure that we get it so that we can respond to it. And of course, it's the easiest way to do it is to write to us live on Wednesdays during the Fantasy Football Power Hour between 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. Eastern Time worldwide. And of course, we typically go beyond that time. So if you have a question and you want to have it answered, the best time to do it is live. So tell your family, friends, coworkers, and colleagues to get in touch with us while we're broadcasting live. And if you're unable to do that, then of course you can send it to us by just replying to the video feed or the audio feed on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, facebook.com/wakeupcalldt, and on our Podbean channels, Podbean channel, I should say, wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. So if you have a question, make sure you send it over to us, and the easiest way to do it is to reply directly to the video or audio feed so that I can see it and get back to you as soon as possible. And it's also awesome to do it when we're broadcasting live so I can, in real time, give you those thoughts that I have on your team. So if you have one, make sure you send it in. I want to thank everybody that has over the years. It really does mean a lot to me to have the opportunity to interact with you from all over the world. So big time shout out and many thanks. Like I said, we're going to jump right into this first game here and give you our advice on Baltimore at Kansas City to start off the season. The Ravens and the Chiefs. So we always start with the road team. We'll start with the Ravens then in this case, first and foremost, and take a look at where the Ravens are stacked up in this. So Lamar Jackson, obviously worth the play for you. Derrick Henry, I don't know why Tennessee let him go. This whole guys turn 30 or 31 years old at running back and they're washed up and who needs them? Look at the Cowboys taking back a guy who it seemingly looked like they were they were looking at him like there's nothing left in the tank for Zeke Elliott, and now they're going back to Zeke. I guess they saw the grass is not always greener on the other side. I'm surprised with the move, but we'll get to that later on here in the broadcast of the Fantasy Football Power Hour. For this matchup, Derrick Henry is a Baltimore Raven, and I think you should play him. Zay Flowers, I think, is worth the play as well. Outside of Zay, it's kind of a question mark for me when it comes to wide receivers fantasy-wise in Baltimore. We draft 18 rounds in 10-team leagues, and I didn't see anybody besides Zay go from the receiving core of Baltimore. Now, if you want to extend that receiving core to Mark Andrews, which you should, I saw him go, but I'm talking about strictly wide receiver. I didn't see Tylan Wallace or Nelson Aguilar or Devontae Walker or Rashad Bateman, any of those guys go. So Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews, in my opinion, worth the play in this game as well. Then to flip over to the Kansas City side and take a look at the Chiefs, Pat Mahomes worth the play. Samaje Perine is now there with Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Isaiah Pacheco. Obviously, Isaiah Pacheco is the main guy out there, and there's Clyde Edwards-Helaire, not somebody that I would lean on here. Carson Wentz is backing up Pat Mahomes, mind you, for those of you that may not know that. That's kind of a cool situation, a unique situation there for them. So, Pat Mahomes worth the play. Isaiah Pacheco, we know that he could be a home run hitter. Rashee Rice has been through a lot in the offseason. We'll see how he responds to that. Typically, when I'm talking about the receivers in Kansas City, they're non-household names for the most part outside of Tyreek Hill, who had been there a few years back. Now these guys have more household names. And credit to their work individually for that. Sky Moore, Mecole Hardman, Juju Smith-Schuster, Justin Watson, Marquise Hollywood Brown, and Rashee Rice. A lot of people know these names, or the majority of these names. And then the fastest 40 ever at the NFL Combine is Xavier Worthy coming out of Texas. And Xavier Worthy is now out here for this team as a rookie. And I would look to see him be utilized in certain instances, certain moments here, maybe certain packages that they have set up, catching the ball over the middle, letting him speed, direct snaps to him, pitches to him, reverses to him. We could see a lot of different things, and I'm excited to see Xavier Worthy. I'll temper your expectations in week number 1, but he's not a bad flex player to put out there. Rashee Rice, we'll see how he has responded to everything. God willing, he is okay, and everyone involved is okay. And we'll move forward from this, and hopefully only good news from here for him and everybody involved. But Rashee Rice, I got him as a wide receiver 2 in deep leagues. He might be a 3 in leagues where you could play 3 to 4 wide receivers. Like I said, I'm watching how he's going to respond. So Marquise Hollywood Brown, he is on the injury report. He's out for week 1 with a shoulder injury. So I would say Xavier Worthy, a good flex. Justin Watson, a good sleeper. Rashee Rice would be, in my opinion, a wide receiver 2 or 3 for you. Hopefully you have a deep enough team that he could be a 3 for week 1. Obviously played Travis Kelce. I don't think either one of these defenses is a, like, yeah, you got to play it. But if I had to pick between the two, the defense that I would suggest for you to play would be the Baltimore Ravens in this instance. So this is the game that we just talked about. We're now going to jump into the Friday Night Football. A Green Bay going up against the Philadelphia Eagles. So as Green Bay takes on the Philadelphia Eagles, and you can see by the one that we've circled here last kind of where we're going to be at, and I can also just clear this for us and let you know that this is the one that we're talking about. So Green Bay and Philadelphia played in Brazil, so this is a neutral game, and in this neutral matchup, I'm going to start with Green Bay, who's the quote-unquote road team in this instance. So the Green Bay Packers in the fight for Forest Green. Jordan Love, I would put him out here in this game. Josh Jacobs, I think he's going to do well. The sad part of behind Josh Jacobs is, I mean, it's good for Josh Jacobs and Josh Jacobs owners, and I have him in one of my fantasy football leagues. But the bad part for the Green Bay Packers overall is every other one of their running backs is on the injury report going into week number 1. Marshawn Lloyd from USC has a hamstring injury. God willing, he'll be okay. I think he could be a nice rookie sleeper for you this year. Emmanuel Wilson has a hip injury, and A.J. Dillon, as we know, is on injured reserve with his neck injury, and God willing, he'll get well soon and be back at it. He's someone I covered in college when he was at Boston College. So Josh Jacobs and Jordan Love worth the play. Christian Watson worth the play as well. In a deep league, he might be a low-end 1. Hopefully, he's a wide receiver 2 for you. Jaden Reed, I have him as a wide receiver 2 as well. I think he could eclipse Christian Watson this season. And Luke Musgrave as well as Tucker Kraft. Tucker Kraft is questionable with a back injury. Luke Musgrave I have as a tight end 2. And then on the other side of it for the Philadelphia Eagles, as they get going on their season here, a hopeful redemption season for them. A lot of expectations last year. They have Kenny Pickett and Tanner McKee. Tanner McKee I have a ton of rookie cards of. So if you are a Tanner McKee fan or you're collecting Tanner McKee, then DM me on social media. Facebook at WakeUpCallDT, X at CallDT, and Instagram at WakeUpCall_DT, because I got a bunch of his stuff. So if you're interested in having him come home to you, then make sure you get in touch with me for Tanner McKee cards that I have, like I was saying. So beyond that, and also Kenny Pickett, is they're now going from one Pennsylvania team to another Pennsylvania team in the unfortunate beginning to his career here, as it didn't work out in Pittsburgh like I thought it would. So Jalen Hurts worth the play. Saquon Barkley, he's making his debut on a different NFC East team, coming from the Giants to the Eagles. Giants fans very bitter about it. Eagles fans excited, as they should be. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith worth the play as well. And Dallas Goedert is going to be backed up by Grant Calcaterra. Dallas Goedert here, he's not on the injury report. God willing, he'll be okay. I think he's worth the play for you as well. I would have Goddard as a tight end 1. Next matchup that we have, and if you have any questions, like I said, make sure you write them in to us. Be happy to answer them for your specific team. We're going to go to the 1 o'clock games starting off on Sunday here. So we're going to go to the Steelers at the Falcons. Steelers at the Falcons, road team first. We'll hand it to the Pittsburgh Steelers. No matter what they're doing, they got a new quarterback this year, no matter who that's going to be. I think for the long term, it's going to be Justin Fields, in my opinion. For the short term right now, it may be Russell Wilson. I don't think that this is a long-term fix. I think this is maybe a smoke and mirrors type of thing. I think Justin Fields eventually is going to be out there and Kyle Allen, I covered him at the Houston Cougars. So I wouldn't play the quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers, Najee Harris. I would put him out there. He's been falling down draft boards. I think more people are maybe looking at Jalen Warren, but he has a hamstring injury, which has left him questionable. God willing, he'll be okay. And so Najee Harris, I think in this matchup, worth the play. George Pickens, worth the play as well. And Pat Freiermuth, I have as a tight end too. On the other side of it, for the Atlanta Falcons, who are the home team, they also have a different starting quarterback no matter what. They went and paid Kirk Cousins over $100 million for 4 years. So the mentality with 100 guaranteed, the mentality was that he was going to be their quarterback for the next couple seasons at least. Then they went and drafted Michael Penix Jr. from the Washington Huskies straight out of the college football playoff. And I'm not against it because I like Michael Penix Jr. I like what I've learned about him as a person, and I like his talent on the field. It just didn't really make sense when you bring in Kirk Cousins and spend $100 million on him, at least bare minimum. So this was an interesting move. I thought they were going to take defensive player Dallas Turner with the 8th overall pick, but they got Michael Penix Jr. If you have team quarterback leagues like I do in the Wake Up Call Challenge, when you draft a quarterback, you don't draft Kirk Cousins, you would draft Falcons quarterback. That means if Kirk is replaced by Michael Penix Jr., you get them both as opposed to having to rush out and get Penix. So I would, in this game, look at potentially putting the quarterback out there, playing up against the Steelers. I'm not really sold on the Steelers' defense, but I'm going to put this as a quarterback 2 situation. And then Bijan Robinson is worth the play. Tyler Algier, I have him as a backup. I got him as a running back 2. And he was just inconsistent. We know he can do different things out of the backfield. We know he can be a home run hitter at time in fantasy play, but at the same time, he does get lost. So I have him as a running back 2, maybe on the lower end. And then Drake London and Kyle Pitts, their stock goes up with Kirk Cousins being in the building. I don't know why Drake London's not being utilized more coming out of USC, and I have no idea why Go Gator Kyle Pitts hasn't been utilized really at all since he came into the league. He could be the top 5. He could be the heir apparent to be the number 1 tight end in fantasy in the future, but they got to throw to him first. So Drake London, I have him as a low-end wide receiver 1, high-end 2. Kyle Pitts, I have him as a tight end 1 going into this game. The receiving core isn't that deep here, so it looks like they're going to lean on Drake London, Kyle Pitts, and Darnell Mooney, who I covered at Tulane, covered his team as a whole, and he was a former Chicago Bear drafted by the Bears. Darnell Mooney could be a sleeper guy for you in a deep league. Maybe he's a flex wide receiver, but I think a lot of the work's going to go through London and Pitts. So I'm excited to see that here in fantasy, especially because I think it's about dang time that we see Kyle Pitts utilized, and I would love to see the utilization of Drake London as well. These are 2 talented guys that just haven't gotten a lot of work. Another 1 o'clock game we're going to get to here. Arizona Cardinals at the Buffalo Bills. The Arizona Cardinals in fantasy are being overlooked outside of Marvin Harrison Jr. Kyler Murray, I picked him up as my backup quarterback, I believe, in the 13th round of my most recent draft. Granted, that wasn't 10 teams, it was 8 teams, but still. So that's one to take a look at here. Kyler Murray in this matchup, I have him as a low-end 1, high-end 2 at quarterback. I'm not as sold on him as maybe some other people are. So, I did draft him as my backup. Somebody's got to go out there and throw to the man, right? Got to go out there and throw to the talented Marvin Harrison Jr. So someone's going to have to get the ball out to him, and Kyler Murray is going to be that guy. But at the same time, it's one of these situations where, the jury's kind of still out for me on Kyler Murray, on what I think he can be for the future of this team. So I have him as a low-end 1, high-end 2 quarterback, including with the matchup that he's going to be in for this week that we're coming into here. Beyond that, James Conner is backed up by Trey Benson. James Conner for me is a running back 2. I like James Conner. I'm a fan of James Conner. Love his story of, hey, coach, I'm going to go beat cancer and I'll see you back on the field. And then he went and did it. So God bless to him now and forever, and to everybody that's battling cancer, and to all their loved ones, that we only heal. And as anybody who's out there dealing with any of it, whether you're a family member or somebody going through it yourself, that there's only healing and wellness all around for everybody involved. For those that don't have cancer, that never get it, and those that do have it, that you get rid of it and get rid of it for good here sooner than later. And God bless to everyone. So James Conner to me, a running back too. Marvin Harrison Jr., I'm excited about him, man. I'm really excited about him. I wanted to get him in any of my fantasy leagues, and I haven't gotten him yet. And so kind of sad face on that for me. I've really wanted to bring the dude home and have him be on my team. Obviously, his father played for my hometown of Syracuse, New York. I'm a fan of Michael Wilson, too. This guy is typically not getting drafted, which is a little bit of a shock to me because I think that he's a talented guy. And, you know, Michael Wilson, as a rookie last year, put himself out there, and I think he did a lot of good things. I think he was one of those sleeper guys that you went out and got. Probably wasn't getting drafted by many out there, but he was getting utilized. So I got to give him credit where credit is due. He's a talented player. He's a sleeper guy. He's probably your wide receiver 3 or 4, but I wouldn't forget about the name Michael Wilson. Trey McBride, people are high on him. He was the number 1 tight end in recent history coming out of the draft. And again, another guy that not utilized as much. So McBride, I have him as tight end 1 for this week. I have Marvin Harrison Jr. as a wide receiver 2 to temper expectations a little bit, but I think he's going to end up being a wide receiver 1. In my mind, he's a wide receiver 1, but keep in mind, this is his first game, so we'll see how often they go to him and really don't have any NFL footage to go off of on what he could be with Kyler Murray. So he is coming off a success. He did have the opportunity to work with now Syracuse quarterback Kyle McCord last season. So I'm excited for Marvin Harrison Jr. But yeah, Kyler Murray, I got him as a low-end 1, high-end, probably a 2 at quarterback this week. James Conner as a running back 2. Marvin Harrison as a wide receiver, a low-end 1, high-end 2. Trey McBride as a tight end 1. And Michael Wilson as a sleeper. On the other side with the Buffalo Bills, and like I said, if you have a question about your team specifically, feel free to write it in. Josh Allen is worth the play. James Cook, I have him as a running back too. He was falling down draft boards, so I don't know how many are trusting him right now in the grand scheme of things. But, you know, James Cook's still a talented player, another guy that I covered in college, so I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do. Dalton Kincaid, to me, is worth the play. He has pushed Dawson Knox out of the fantasy world and just made an immediate impact on the team. So sad for Dawson Knox. Really happy for Dalton Kincaid. I thought that last year they could coexist. It might be that this is just a Dalton Kincaid show when it comes to fantasy now. Big time props to him. Khalil Shakir, I like him. He's the number 1 receiver right now. He went from 3 to 1. Not a deep receiver room here. Curtis Samuel's on the injury report with a toe injury. Marquez Valdez-Scantling has a neck injury. Mac Hollins could be out there for you. Covered him at North Carolina, I believe, in his time. Yeah, he was at UNC. I was like, if my memory serves me correct here. And then they have Keon Coleman, who I cover Florida State. And Keon Coleman's one of those guys that maybe could do some good things out there. We're expected to see him move into number 1, but who's the number 1 guy? I mean, people think it's Keon Coleman. Khalil Shakir is the guy that has the experience, but this is kind of a question mark. So I'm going to say going into this game, in my opinion, and Team Money sending us some questions here as well as Motion Man. So I'm going to go ahead and answer your questions here. If you haven't subscribed, Team Money, I know you did. Motion Man, if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, make sure to subscribe today. And a big time thanks for you tuning in here. So make sure to subscribe if you are on our channel and to send your family, friends, coworkers, and colleagues. We do this fantasy football advice every Wednesday to get you ready for Thursday all the way through Monday night. And we are here worldwide on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. facebook.com/wakeupcalldt, and on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. So if you have a question, send it over, subscribe, and send people to us. We answer questions from people all over the world in real time when you're watching it. So Motion Man, you came in first, so I'm going to get to you first. Said, hey man, thoughts on my team, 10-man PPR, Kyler Murray, Kyron Williams, Devon Achane, A.J. Brown, Cooper Kupp, Trey McBride, Deontay Johnson, and Monty. Yeah, man, I like it. I like it. You know, Kyler Murray, like I said, I'm kind of iffy on him. I think if it doesn't work this season, then it may be time to move on. I don't know how many years you can kind of sell that if it's not working, but I do hope the best for Kyler. He's got Trey McBride. He's got James Conner. He's got Trey Benson. He's got Michael Wilson, and he has Marvin Harrison Jr. So if he can't do it now, but again, with DeAndre Hopkins, you know, it wasn't great. DeAndre's not there anymore. So I do like the team. Cooper Kupp's kind of fallen down a little bit here. We'll see what that looks like. And Deontay Johnson's on a new team in Carolina. Let's see if Bryce Young and the offensive line can make sure that he gets the ball. But thank you for writing in here, Motion Man, and make sure to subscribe. T Money said, one of my league members is scared for Jamar Chase. Should I chase him? 10-man PPR, Pat Mahomes, Josh Jacobs, James Conner, CeeDee Lamb, Drake London, Dalton Kincaid, DK Metcalf, Xavier Worthy, and Calvin Ridley. I would give up London and Ridley for Chase or DK and Ridley. Well, I wouldn't be giving up DK, and I don't know if I'd give up Drake London. I mean, I like Jamar Chase, and he has been a lock-in, not a lock-out player, and what does that mean? It means that he's been to practices, he's in the actual confines of the Bengals. He's not sitting at home. So, I mean, he is around the team. I like Jamar Chase. I just don't know if I want you to give up two of the guys to go get him. I mean, Calvin Ridley I'm not as sold on, but DK and Drake, I'm a little leery about getting rid of a player so early on. So, I like Chase. I mean, obviously it's hard not to, but I don't know if I would give up two wide receivers heading into the season. You know, I mean, I think making moves for Chase is good, but you also want to make sure that he's going to be out there. If you have questions, you can write them into Facebook as well as to our YouTube feed like we're reading from right now. And you can write them in on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com if you're listening to live internet streaming radio. And by the way, once this show is on Podbean, after the broadcast, it goes out to so many different avenues. So if you're wherever you're watching and listening from, make sure to find Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our fantasy football advice, as well as everything and all of our interviews. Over 5,000 people have been on the show. Go to Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, Player FM, Podbean, Podchaser.com, Podvine, Spotify, TuneIn, and YouTube, and search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. Before we take a step aside here, I want to get back to the Cardinals, Bills, and yeah, so James Cook, running back 2, Josh Allen, QB1, Khalil Shakir and Keon Coleman was what I was talking about. I got both of these guys I got Keon as a wide receiver 2, Khalil as a wide receiver 3 on your team. Somebody's going to be the eventual one here, but right now I'd argue that Dalton Kincaid is the one receiver on the Buffalo Bills, and I have him as a tight end 1 for this week. So we're going to do one more here before we take a step aside for a fast break. That next game that we're going to do, and if you have a question, go ahead and send it in while we're talking. Tennessee at Chicago. This is the debut of Caleb Williams, the number 1 overall pick. I got to watch him live a couple of years ago in the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic that the Tulane Green Wave and the USC Trojans played in, with the USC Trojans and Michael Pratt, who was a 7th-round pick. Michael Pratt and the Green Wave ended up defeating Caleb Williams and the USC Trojans in an instant classic. Well, this is the first time that Will Levis is the outright starter to start off a season, and I'm excited to see what he can do. Will Levis, I have him as a quarterback 2. Tony Pollard's making his debut with the Titans, coming from the Cowboys. Tajay Spears is from that team in Tulane. So funny how Tajay Spears will get another crack at Caleb Williams. He had, I believe, 4 touchdowns in that game for Tulane in the defeat of USC in the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic and the New Year's Six Bowl. And now Tajay Spears has another opportunity to be on the team opposite Caleb Williams. And let's see what he does in this game in the NFL. So Tajay Spears, to me, I have him in this matchup against Chicago as I got him in. I mean, I would probably put Tajay over Tony Pollard here. He's had more time with the team. So I'm going to say Tajay is a low-end 1, high-end 2. I got Tony Pollard as a running back 2. Calvin Ridley, I have him as a wide receiver 3 going into his debut with the Titans. DeAndre Hopkins, I would have him as a 2. He's questionable with a knee injury, so just monitor that. Tyler Boyd is making his debut with the Titans after leaving the Cincinnati Bengals. So Tyler Boyd was a guy that you thought would maybe figure it out in Cincinnati. He was there from 2016 on to last season, but it never worked out, so he's making his debut. Treylon Burks, who they drafted high after letting A.J. Brown go, he hasn't really worked out there. So Boyd, I would say wide receiver 3. Burks, I would probably leave off. And then Chigoziem Okonkwo, a lot of people high on this tight end and excited to see what Okonkwo can do this season for the Tennessee Titans. He's been in the league for 2 years. His debut season, 32 catches, 450 yards, 3 touchdowns. Last season, 54 catches, 528, and a tutty. So Chigoziem, I'm going to put him in this one as a... There's not a lot of tight end ones, so I'm going to say he is... I'm going to put him in this matchup as a low-end 1, high-end 2 overall. But with the lack of tight ends that you can really lean on in fantasy, he's a tight end 1. I just don't have him as high as I have other guys, is what I'll say. The Chicago Bears on the other side of it here, the home team. Caleb Williams, this is his debut. I'd probably leave him off. I wouldn't have him starting. DeAndre Swift, he went from the Lions to the Eagles to the Bears. Oh my. I don't know why the Eagles let him go. He had a good season last season, but they let him go. So DeAndre Swift, I got him as a running back 2. In this game, low-end 1, high-end 2. Khalil Herbert, I have him as a 3. Let's see how often they use him. Rashawn Johnson, mind you, they drafted him last year. So how they're going to work all this out. And then Travis Homer, who I covered in college. This will be interesting to see how this really pans out. Is this going to be 3 running backs? Is it going to be Homer returning kicks? You know, who do we have that's going to be on special teams here as the guy? You know, DeAndre Carter and Velus Jones could be the guys back there returning kicks here. But where's Rashawn Johnson going to be in all of this? So if I had to play a running back from Chicago, it would be Swift and Herbert and Johnson, kind of a toss-up. DJ Moore came on the team last year from Carolina, involved in this whole movement that brought Bryce Young to the Carolina Panthers, giving Chicago's #1 overall pick, and then giving them the opportunity to Bryce Young, and then Carolina giving up draft capital like crazy to Chicago, which allowed Chicago to have 2 top 10 picks this year to grab Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze. I like Rome Odunze in this debut. I have him as a wide receiver 2. I think he's going to end up being the 1 in reality here on this team. Keenan Allen's on the injury report with a foot injury. If he's able to go, I have him as a wide receiver 2 as well. And I have DJ Moore as a wide receiver 2. I want to see who comes out of this thing. Cole Kmet, I have him as a tight end 2 in this matchup. And we're going to take a step aside on the Fantasy Football Power Hour on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub, the home of our fantasy football, year in and year out in Central and Upstate New York, and the place for you to go watch the games every single week. Can hang out on 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. We'll take a step aside for a fast break. We'll be back with plenty more on Wake Up Call in fantasy football for week number 1, the next game that we'll be talking about. And I'm going to go ahead and circle it right now so you know what to be ready for. And if you're just tuning in or if you're watching it on playback, you know what game we're on by the game that is circled. So the next one we got up here, the Patriots at the Bengals, right after this fast break.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating at 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and always online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, order anywhere, anytime at maandpaspopcorn.com. Stop in to get a tin at Ma and Pa's on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York to get your half-price refills for the rest of your life. Come to Ma and Pa's for your holiday gift giving for family, friends, employees, and clients. And remember, for fundraising and events, to call 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub, 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. Head out there 7 days a week, including on game day for not just the NFL, but college football, basketball, a little bit of everything, soccer, and so on and so forth, baseball, hockey, everything. And, of course, for takeout and delivery from the Wildcat, you can call 315-487-2222. That's 315-487-2222. To everybody that is watching and listening, make sure to subscribe to us and follow us on all of our awesome channels, our live feeds worldwide, Monday through Friday from 9 to 11 a.m. Eastern Time and beyond is youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, facebook.com/wakeupcalldt, and on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. I had a question that came in as we went into the break. That question came from Jeb on YouTube. Jeb said, I'm being offered Marvin Harrison Jr. for Puka. Do I accept? Kyler is my quarterback. Well, here's the thing, Jeb. I like Puka, but Puka's got Cooper. Who's going to stop Marvin Harrison from being the guy? So, I would say go for it. Take Marvin. Because I think Marvin's going to have himself a Rookie of the Year type season. I'm very excited to see what he's going to do. So I would say do the deal. A little scary, but I would say do the deal. Because here's the thing. I mean, Puka's talented. There is no doubt in my mind that Puka is talented. He's very talented. But there's just something about Marvin Harrison Jr. There's just something about him. And I feel good about this season for him. Now, keep in mind, Puka had 105 catches last year, 1,486 yards, and 6 touchdowns. So, those are massive numbers. Marvin Harrison is coming into the NFL having not had any NFL tape. Or Puka's got NFL tape. And remember, Cooper Kupp was unstoppable. Then all of a sudden, people started to stop him. And this could be an uptick year for Cooper, which is another reason why I would say to go for the trade because of the situation with Cooper. Because I think Cooper's going to have an uptick year. Whereas Marvin doesn't have DeAndre Hopkins there anymore. He's got Michael Wilson. I think a lot is going to go through him. There's Greg Dortch, Chris Moore, Zach Pascal. Zay Jones is there now. I think a lot of this work is going to be Marvin Harrison Jr. And that's why I feel good about it. But Puka's a tremendous player. And that's a really tough question. But I appreciate the tough questions because that's what I'm here for. Next one up that we have is going to be the Patriots at the Bengals as promised. So we're going to start with the road team as we always do, the New England Patriots. And we'll go to them first. Jacoby Brissett gets the starting job over Drake May. I'm not surprised because Drake May, I was really excited. I was really high on Drake May. Now, I covered him when he went to North Carolina. And, you know, I was high on him going in. And then I watched his film. I educated myself more than I was educated because I'm not always right on everything. And I got to admit that I was high on him, but I hadn't done the homework that I should have done. Once I did that homework, I realized Drake May takes a long time to get the ball out. And taking that long time to get the ball out put me in a place where I thought to myself, I don't really know if that's going to flow in the NFL when wide receivers have to slow down and wait for the ball to come to them. I think Joe Milton III, and this has been one of my predictions that I've had for a very long time. This is not a prediction I'm making it today. This is a prediction that I've had. And that prediction is that we will see Joe Milton III on the field. Be it a Wildcat situation, a goal line situation, or a specific package or two, we will see Joe Milton III out of Tennessee on the field at some point this season for the Patriots in his rookie season. You heard it here first. Jacoby Brissett in this situation, I don't know. This could be a fun situation for a backup on your fantasy team if you have a league like I do, which has the team quarterback where you don't draft Brissett or May or Milton, you get Patriots team quarterback. That could be good to grab and stash if you're in a league like mine. But should you be playing the Patriots quarterback, especially on the road here? No, not this week. Ramondre Stevenson, I have him as a running back too. Antonio Gibson, I want to see what he does here coming over from the Commanders. Demario Douglas, young gun here. Jalen Polk, another young gun. Jalen, I got him as a low-key wide receiver 3. Douglas and Osborne, who I covered and interviewed in college when he came over from the Buffalo Bulls to the Miami Hurricanes. I'm not sold on any of these guys. I would just say Polk is a wide receiver 3. Hunter Henry is on the injury report with an undisclosed injury. Austin Hooper's there. If Hunter's able to go, then I would put him as a low-end 1, high-end tight end 2 this week to start off the season. For the Cincinnati Bengals, this is where the fantasy is in this matchup. Joe Burrow, yes, girl. Zach Moss, I got him as it's a matchup against the Patriots, so I'm going to call him a running back 2. Chase Brown, I also have as a running back 2. Jamar Chase, if he does play in this game, is a wide receiver 1. If he doesn't, then you got to kind of just stash him here. If he plays, he's wide receiver 1. If he doesn't, then T. Higgins is wide receiver 1. So just watch that. And Mike Gesicki, he might get some luck. Jermaine Burton also was brought in here in the current situation that they have in Cincinnati. So Jermaine Burton, don't sleep on him. Alabama rookie. And coming from the Crimson Tide and Nick Saban, these are the guys, the SEC guys come in and seemingly are able to jump right into the NFL. A lot of these guys are. So I like Jermaine Burton as a guy to grab and stash and wait for. He's a sleeper wide receiver, probably 4 for this week. But if Jamar's not out there, then Jermaine could be that sleeper guy you put in a flex position. And then T. Higgins, like I said, he's a 1 on your team this week. If Jamar isn't there, he's definitely a 1. But I got Jamar and T as 1s in this matchup against the Patriots. And then Mike Gesicki, I have him as a tight end too in this matchup. next game that we have here on the docket is going to take us to a divisional game in week number 1. How about that? Playing within the division to start off the season, and that is the Houston Texans against the Indianapolis Colts. This is the battle of quarterbacks drafted last year. One of them is the Offensive Rookie of the Year, reigning Offensive Rookie of the Year. The other one did not really get to play in his rookie season. So this is C.J. Stroud, Rookie of the Year, going up against Anthony Richardson, take 2 at having a rookie season. C.J. Stroud, to me, is worth the play in this. Joe Mixon is worth the play here. I got him as a low-end running back 1, a high-end 2. Cam Akers is there. Damian Pierce, who was drafted out of Go Gators, he's back as well. But Joe Mixon, I think he's, to me, he's a running back 1, but let me put him as a mid to low 1 in that range going into this game, and then let's see what he does. But I do think that he's going to end up having himself a good season and could be the best running back Houston's had in a while. No offense to Damian Pierce. He was the best thing that they've had over recent history, but obviously they didn't think that he was enough, or they wouldn't have brought in Joe Mixon. Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell is ready to go, which is beautiful here. I'm very excited to see Tank here. I have Tank in this as a low-end 1, high-end 2. I have Nico Collins as a 3. I have Stephon Diggs as a wide receiver. I got him as a low-end 1, high-end 2 as well, because the question becomes, who's going to be the guy? And I don't know if that's going to be answered in week 1. I don't know if that's going to be answered in week 2. And definitely, Jeb, appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe. Happy to help you out. If we have any more questions, make sure you send them into our feeds here on Facebook, as well as Podbean and YouTube. But I'm going to put Diggs as a low-end 1, high-end 2. Tank as a low-end 1, high-end 2. Nico as a 3. Let's see who comes out of this thing. John Mechie III, who they drafted in recent history, he's on the roster. Let's see what he does, as well as Robert Woods. These are guys that are not getting drafted unless it's a really deep league, maybe a 16-team league. You'll see them get drafted, but I still think Tank can be the one. Diggs, to me, is a head case, and Nico Collins is talented, and he's done some good stuff. Don't forget about tight end Dalton Schultz. So Schultz I'm going to put as a low-end 1, high-end 2 on your team. Or I'm going to, low-end 1, high-end 2 at tight end. He's a tight end 1, but with all these receivers, I don't know how much play he's going to get here from C.J. Stroud. So, and how consistent that's going to be. I do think he's a tight end 1, but I'm going to put him as a low-end 1, high-end 2, maybe a mid-range 1, but probably low-range 1, high-end 2. And then, Diggs and Tank are worth the play. Nico might be the flex guy that you put out there this week, but there's some question marks in who's going to rise to be the guy, or if they're going to have, just one guy. I think the ball is going to be spread around the yard here, but I still think if I had to put my feet to the fire, that Tank Dell is the guy that I would put over Diggs at this moment in time. For the Indianapolis Colts, Anthony Richardson is back, but do you play him in this game? No. I got him as a quarterback too. Jonathan Taylor is worth the play in this. I still have him as an RB1. Michael Pittman Jr., I have him as a wide receiver 1. Kylan Granson, I would say, is a low-end 1, high-end 2 at tight end. Josh Downs has an ankle injury. Adonai Mitchell, the rookie that they got here, and Alec Pierce, who's young in here. A lot of young guys. Drafted Josh Downs recently, Alec Pierce recently. Adonai Mitchell is a rookie, and Michael Pittman Jr. is the old head here, and he's only been in the league for a few seasons. So a lot of youth here outside of Jonathan Taylor. So I would say Anthony Richardson, quarterback 2. Michael Pittman Jr. worth the play in this one. Jonathan Taylor worth the play. Maybe a sneaky flex for Adonai Mitchell. And Kylan Granson's not a bad tight end to put out there. I don't have him as one of the definite top 5, 6 in the country. But Kylan Granson, I think you could look to him here as a low-end 1, high-end 2 at tight end. The next matchup that we're going to discuss here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora in the Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly presented by the wonderful team at the Wildcat Sports Pub on 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York, is the battle of the Floridian teams here. 2 out of 3 going up against each other this week. The Jaguars are on the road visiting the Miami Dolphins. Let's go to the Jacksonville Jaguars first. And T-Law, he's been falling down draft boards. I got him as my backup quarterback in one of the last rounds of one of my drafts that I had at the Wildcat Sports Pub. So he is not somebody that a lot of people have been leaning on and believing in as much as maybe they did going into last year. I have Trevor Lawrence as a QB2 this week. Travis Etienne Jr., I have him as an RB1. And Tank Bigsby, I have as probably an RB3 going into the game. Christian Kirk, he has a calf injury. He got hurt last year. Good receiver. A lot better than I think people give him credit for. I thought he was going to be the heir apparent in Arizona. He's done a great job in Jacksonville when healthy. I think he's definitely shown a lot of upside. But Brian Thomas Jr., the rookie out of LSU, he's going to get work. Devin Duvernay is going to get work in the return game, maybe in the receiving game. Parker Washington or Tim Jones could get some work here if Christian Kirk is not 100%. And Gabe Davis is making his debut with Brian Thomas Jr. and Devin Duvernay. So I think the best bets for you in this game for Jacksonville is Gabe Davis as a wide receiver 2 or 3, Brian Thomas Jr. as a wide receiver 2, and Evan Engram as a tight end 1. On the other side of it for the Miami Dolphins, Tua Tagovailoa, I have him as a QB 1-ish. I have him as I think he's going to have a good game. I think Jacksonville's got a good defense, but I think Tua's going to have a good game in this matchup. That's my gut, and I trust that. So I got Tua as a QB1, not as high as some other ones. Let's call him a mid-range 1, mid to low-range 1 this week. I'm going to say mid-range 1. Devon Achane, I have him as Jacksonville struggled to stop the run at times in recent history, so I have him as a running back 2. I have Raheem Mostert. I have them both as running back 2s. I want to see who's going to be the guy. Tyreek Hill is a wide receiver 1. Jalen Waddle, while you work, and he's questionable with an undisclosed. If Waddle's able to go, I have him as a wide receiver 2. And I don't have the tight ends high here in Miami. I'd probably put Jonnu Smith as a wide receiver 2. I don't know why teams let go of Jonnu Smith, why Tennessee let him go, and then he went to, Hunter Henry did good work with the Patriots, so I guess that makes sense why they let him go, but he's a talented guy. So, I think he'll catch on. I just don't have him in fantasy high up there to start off the season. Next one that we have is going to be the Panthers at the Saints. This is another divisional matchup. This is an NFC South matchup. The Carolina Panthers were the worst team in the NFL last year. Can they change it this year? We shall see. Bryce Young, I have him as a QB2 going into the season. And then Jonathan Brooks, I would have him as the guy, but he has an ACL injury, a knee injury there. So we're not going to see him out there in this game. Potentially, we're not going to see him out there. So I would say Chuba Hubbard, Miles Sanders, Raheem Blackshear, who is a repurposed guy from NC State. If I had to choose in this matchup, which I hope you don't have to, but Chuba, I'm going to call him a running back 2 in this matchup. I'm going to call Miles Sanders also a running back 2. Deontay Johnson's making his debut coming from the Pittsburgh Steelers who drafted him. I'm going to call him a wide receiver 2 this week. They drafted Xavier Legette. But Jonathan Mingo's young in the game. I got those 2 guys as flex wide receiver 4s in this matchup. And then on the other side for the New Orleans Saints, I like Derek Carr. And I think they got a steal with him. And I think in this game he might have himself a heyday. I got him as a mid to low range 1. Alvin Kamara is worth the play as an RB1. Jamal Williams, running back 2 or 3 in this matchup, maybe like a flex guy for you. Hopefully you got him toward the end of your draft. And Chris Olave, I got him as a wide receiver 1 in this. And then Juwan Johnson, I would love for them. He's talented, but I'd love for them to be consistent with him. That is something that I commonly say with Juwan Johnson, which is probably more frustrating for him than it is for me to say, that they don't go to him enough. But I do think he's a talented guy. He's going up against Carolina. Maybe this is the day you play him. I have him as a mid-range tight end 1 in this. And then we have the Vikings at the Giants. The Giants kept Tommy Cutlets there on the team. Happy that a guy who I know his family, interviewed him, got to meet his dad, got to meet his mom, actually just got in touch with his mom today and had a little correspondence. So shout out to Lexi and Tom DeVito Sr., as well as the entire DeVito family and extension of the family, and of course to Tommy Cutlets. I love chicken cutlets, so I think that's probably my favorite name for him thus far. Looking at the Minnesota Vikings, they're rocking with Sam Darnold. It seemed like they were going to do that with J.J. McCarthy, even if J.J. was healthy. He has a meniscal injury. He's having surgery. He's on injured reserve. God bless him, and a healthy, speedy recovery for J.J. McCarthy and anybody else who's injured. Aaron Donald's making his debut. Aaron Donald is a running back 1 for me in this game. Justin Jefferson is a wide receiver 1 for me in this game. Sam Darnold is a quarterback low end 1, high end 2, just because he's playing. I think he's talented, but he's also playing the Giants, which I think raises him up a little bit for me. Ankle injury to Jordan Addison. If he's able to go, he's a wide receiver 2. And Josh Oliver, who came from the Jaguars, I'm not sold on him. So, I mean, they are playing the Giants. I'm going to call him a tight end 2 in this matchup. And then on the other side of it, for the New York Giants, I don't know if Daniel Jones is going to keep this job. This could be a great situation for Tommy DeVito, because I'm not sold on Drew Lock, who's also there. And I'm not sold on Daniel Jones, who I was hoping would do better. Covered him coming out of Duke. We shall see. I think Tommy DeVito could be here's one of my other predictions. Tommy DeVito will start at least one game this season. So how about that? Tyrone Tracy Jr., he has an ankle injury. He's left him questionable for the rookie running back that some of you have drafted. Some of you got some thoughts that he's going to end up being the guy. He is at 24 years old, a little bit older of a rookie here, but you're going to see that with these COVID opportunities of extensions of the seasons. He played for Purdue. Devin Singletary was a Bill. Now I believe he was also a Texan. He's only played in blue, red, white, and blue, because he was a Bill, then he was a Texan, now he's a Giant. So that's kind of interesting, unique there. Malik Neighbors is making his debut out of LSU. Top 10 pick in the 2024 NFL draft, drafted before Brian Thomas Jr. I don't agree with it, but I'm happy that they did it, because then the Jaguars got the guy that I thought they would get, which is Brian Thomas Jr., and I predicted that the Giants would take Malik Neighbors. So got those 2 predictions right. Chris Manhurt, speaking of Jaguars, he's one of the tight ends on the roster for the Giants in their 53-man roster. Guys to play: Devin Singletary, running back 3 in a deep league. He's a 2. Malik Neighbors, flex wide receiver. I'm not sold on anybody with the Giants right now, but I am excited for Tommy Cutlets. Like I said, prediction that he will play. He will start a game this year. He will start at least one game this year. Let's go to the 4 o'clock games here. We got the Raiders. The Raiders, Aiden O'Connell could be the starter at some point this season. Right now it's Gardner Minshew II, who they signed on a 2-year deal. And they're going to be going up against the Chargers with Jim Harbaugh making his debut. I said if he came back to the NFL as a head coach, he was the Niners head coach. I said if he came back to the NFL, the only team that I saw him coaching at was going to be the Los Angeles Chargers, and that prediction came true, and he has Justin Herbert and the crew. Let's go to the Raiders first. Gardner Minshew, I like him, but I got him as a quarterback too, fantasy-wise. Zamir White, covered him in college, Georgia. He was behind James Cook. He is now the guy. I was talking about him in recent history ever since he came into the NFL. I don't know how many people were talking about him. I think he was an afterthought, but he's a young gun here, and I don't think he's got anybody that's going to stop him here in the running back core. Alexander Madison and Amir Abdullah. Zamir White, to me, in this matchup, let's call him a running back too. Devontae Adams is on the questionable list here. If he's able to go, he's worth the play as a wide receiver, low end 1, high end 2. I know some people might think I'm crazy. Talent-wise, he's a wide receiver 1, but that's a weird situation, unique right now. So I'm going to call him a 1, but I'm going to temper my expectations and treat him like a wide receiver 2 this week. Jacoby Myers, a good possession receiver, and but we'll see. We'll see what happens here. If he's able to go out there, then Jacoby Myers for me would be a flex guy, and Brock Bowers is with Michael Mayer. Brock is the rookie. They drafted Michael last year, then they drafted Brock. I like Michael out of Notre Dame, and I really like Brock out of Georgia. Brock's on one of my teams. He's got a foot injury. He's questionable for his debut. If he's able to go, I'd put him out there as a tight end. Low end 1, high end 2. I don't think he's bad to put out there as your 1 if he's able to go. And just monitor Devontae Adams and Jacoby Myers. On the other side of it, for the Los Angeles Chargers, Justin Herbert, he's on the injury report with a foot injury. If he's able to go, then put him out there. Get your hands off my Heine. He was in Atlanta, and then he comes over to the Chargers. They get him for a little insurance policy. I don't hate it. And Easton Stick is still there, who they drafted within the last couple of years here. So I'm liking that Heineke is there as insurance. If Herbert's able to go, then I like Herbert in this game. And outside of that, Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins coming over together from the Ravens. As I've said before, I think John Harbaugh is going to stop telling his brother Jim all of his secrets, because Jim took not only players off of the Ravens team like Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins, he also took people in the front office, took some coaching staff guys. So I think that John Harbaugh needs to maybe not say things around the dinner table when the Harbaugh family gets together anymore. But Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins, both of these guys making their debut. I'm going to have them as running back 2s because I don't know how this is going to work out. It was a little bit of both in Baltimore. Let's see what it looks like in Los Angeles. I'm going to call them 2s. I think they both can do some good things if healthy. God willing, they will be healthy. Typically, Gus stepped in when JK would go down. Let's see what they look like here. And but running back 2s, talented guys. I think they're going to do some good things this year. And we'll see how they kind of play together once again. Josh Palmer, some people are high on this guy. And with Keenan Allen gone and Mike Williams gone as well, let's see what this is going to look like. Ladd McConkey, the rookie that they brought in here. This is another guy to watch. And Quentin Johnston out of TCU, a young gun. And Ladd McConkey is a rookie out of Georgia, 22 years old. So I got Ladd as a wide receiver 3 this week as kind of a flex guy. I got Palmer as a 2, and he could be a 1, but I got him as a wide receiver 2 in fantasy. And Quentin Johnston, I have him as a wait and see guy because he hasn't really gotten a lot of fantasy work. So I'm going to call him a wait and see guy. The next 4 o'clock game that we're going to do here is going to be the Denver Broncos at the Seattle Seahawks. Bo Nix. This was I told you my prediction is that the rookie quarterback of 2024 that will have the best rookie season of all rookie quarterbacks in the NFL is Jaden Daniels for the Washington Commanders. After him, probably not a lot of people agree with me, is that the rookie quarterback that will also have a really good season is Bo Nix. I think Caleb Williams will too, but I picked Bo Nix to be my number 2 guy. Might be tied number 2 with Caleb Williams, but right now I got him a hair. I think Bo Nix is going to have a really good rookie season. Now, I got him as a quarterback, too, going into this game in fantasy, but I'm excited for Bo because Bo knows. And I'm looking forward to it. Javonte Williams, I got him as a running back, too. Jaleel McLaughlin, the rookie, I have him as a running back 3 going into this fantasy. And he's not a rookie, pardon me. He's from Youngstown State, but he's had some time in the NFL. 23 years old, Jaleel McLaughlin, excited to see what he can do. And he might be a flex out guy for you. So I got him as a running back 3 here going into the season. Javonte is a running back 2. Cortland Sutton, he doesn't have Jerry Jeudy with him anymore. This is Hands McGee. Good hands here. Covered him out of SMU. I think he's going to do better with Bo Nix. Troy Franklin, don't forget about him. He's a rookie, but he played with Bo at Oregon. So he's a guy that's maybe a wide receiver 4 coming in here. Marvin Mims III, I got him in this matchup on the road at Seattle. I got Marvin Mims as a wide receiver 3. I got Cortland Sutton as a wide receiver 2. But I think Sutton and Mims can do some good things. Franklin is my sleeper this year. And Jaleel and Javonte, I think, could be fun to watch as this goes on. I don't have anybody as an outright 1 in fantasy, but I do think that Javonte Williams is a name to look for this week. Cortland Sutton, maybe a Marvin Mims, deep sleeper on Troy Franklin, and Jaleel McLaughlin as a running back 3. Bo Nix, watch him. I'm high on Bo in his rookie season. I think he's going to have a really good rookie season at quarterback behind Jaden Daniels overall with rookie quarterbacks. And then Seattle, Geno, I got him as a quarterback too, but I do like him here. Kenneth Walker, the third in this, I got him as a running back 1. Zach Charbonnet, monitor and see if he's good to go. If he is good to go, I have him as a running back 2. DK as a wide receiver 1. Tyler Lockett as a wide receiver 2. If he's able to go, he does have a leg injury. Jackson Smith and Jigba, I like him. I have a bunch of his rookie cards, including a 3 of 3 in the world, if you're interested. Laviska Shenault is here now. He has bounced around, God willing. He can catch on here in Seattle. And Noah Fant's on the injury report. So is Pharaoh Brown. So we could see Brady Russell or A.J. Barner at tight end or both. I got DK as wide receiver 1. Like I said, Tyler Lockett, wide receiver 2. If Tyler Lockett is not 100%, I have Jackson Smith and Jigba as wide receiver 2 for this week up against the Denver Broncos, whose defense I don't trust. Coming from here, we're going to go to the Dallas game. Dallas at Cleveland. And so Cleveland, I believe, as far as I know, in the history of me covering the NFL, which is a very long time, over 20 years, I can't remember any team that had 5 starting quarterbacks in a single season that made the postseason. And they did it last year. Michael sent me a question here on X. Thanks for the question, Michael. Or Mickey, pardon me. Mickey here. I read this quick. So Mickey, PPR, Rashee Rice versus Nico Collins, and Raheem Mostert versus Ramondre Stevenson in PPR. Well, if I'm going to pick this, I'm going to go with Rashi. Do I want to go? Yeah, because there's a loaded. So I'm going to pick Rashi over Nico. And I'm going to pick Ramondre over Raheem in week 1. Thank you for your question. And make sure to follow us for sure on X at CallDT, Instagram at WakeUpCallDT, Instagram at WakeUpCall_DT, and Facebook at WakeUpCallDT. Of course, join us here and subscribe to us on youtube.com/WakeUpCallDT, Facebook.com/WakeUpCallDT, and on Podbean, wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. So appreciate your questions as always. And if you have them, make sure you send them in ASAP so we can get to them. If you're watching this video or listening to the show after it went live, then make sure you send them in and put them directly on these videos so that I can be sure to answer them for you here and get to them. So appreciate the questions that we've gotten on YouTube and X. And if you have a question, make sure you send it in. We are inside of the Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub. For those of you in central and upstate New York, make sure you go to the Wildcat on 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York to watch the games, as well as any game or any event. And they have an awesome party room, so anniversaries, birthday party, and so many things going on, events for your team, award ceremonies and whatnot. You can, at team dinners, have those all at the Wildcat. 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. For takeout and delivery, call 315-487-2222. That's 315-487-2222. So Dallas at Cleveland. Let's get into that matchup here. We're going to start with the road team as we always do. Dallas Cowboys here in the Fantasy Football Power Hour, presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub. Dak Prescott, I got him as a low-end 1, high-end 2 at quarterback. Zeke Elliott and Rico Dowdle are your guys, and Delvin Cook. I got Delvin Cook here as a grab and stash sleeper guy, probably a running back 3 going into the season, making his debut for Dallas. Zeke is making his re-debut for Dallas. I have Zeke as a running back 2 this week. Rico Dowdle, probably a flex guy with Delvin. CD is in a position where He just signed a big-time contract. This is huge for him. And fantasy football here, he's on the commissioner's exempt list. And so he's currently listed as injured in certain leagues, which is strange because he just got a massive extension. He's not injured. The Cowboys got a 2-game roster exemption, and they were able to do that with him being placed on what's called the commissioner's exempt list. So it's a weird thing to see, but that's what it means, the CEL here. And we'll see what this looks like for CeeDee Lamb. Never good for a player when it comes to injuries, and God willing, we don't see that with anybody, especially wide receivers and running backs here. I'm concerned about that with Jamar Chase. So he's not injured. He signed with the Cowboys, and the team was given that 2-game roster exemption, which puts him on that commissioner's exempt list. It doesn't count against their 53-man roster. He can be activated at any time. And usually a player on the commissioner's exempt list is not allowed to practice with the team, but Lamb is an exception to that as well, and he's been practicing with the Cowboys. So head coach Mike McCarthy said that he's on a pitch count, also known as a snap count. That means Dak Prescott has a set amount of passes he can make to Lamb during practice. There's no reason to believe that Lamb will miss playing time for Cowboys. He's fully healthy and expected to play week 1. So I just want to give a little background on that because it can be confusing, even for a broadcaster that's been doing this for many years. So CeeDee Lamb, he's a 1 if he's good to go. I don't trust anybody else in the receiving corps for them. Jake Ferguson, I like him as a low-end 1, high-end 2 at tight end. He had a pretty good season last season. I don't know why they let Dalton Schultz go, especially in-state to Houston, but he's got some talent. So, Jake Ferguson, I was like, okay, why would you let Schultz go? And then Jake stepped up in a big way and definitely caught my eye. So give credit where credit's due, and I'm giving credit to Jake Ferguson here. On the Cleveland side of things, Deshaun Watson, I got him as, they're playing Dallas. I have him and Micah Parsons on the other side. I have him as a low-end 1, high-end 2. Same thing with Dak. I don't want you to have to lean on Cleveland as your QB1 here. Jerome Ford, I drafted him thinking he was going to get time, and now Nick Chubb is out again, and he's on the PUP list, the physically unable to perform. God willing, he'll be okay. Knee, ACL, MCL, God willing, he'll be all right. Nyheim Hines, who I covered at NC State, he's injured here with an ACL injury. Pierre Strong Jr. is on the injury report with a rib injury. And Dante Foreman, who started his career with the Texans, he is returning to Cleveland. So Jerome Ford, for me, I got him as an RB1 this week. Probably a mid-range RB1, but an RB1 nonetheless. Jerry Jeudy's making his debut in Cleveland, coming from Denver. And Amari Cooper's there going up against his old team in Dallas. I don't understand why they let him go. Signed him on, I think, a 5-year deal, and he didn't spend all 5 years there. So I got Coop as a wide receiver 1 in this game. I got Jeudy as a 2. I'm tempering my expectations for him. And David Njoku, if he's able to go, I have him as a mid-range tight end 1 to a low-range tight end 1 for this matchup at home against Dallas. Before we take our last step aside in the Fantasy Football Power Hour on Wake Up Call, proudly presented by the Wildcat, we got one more midday game to go to here. This is the Commanders at the Bucks. This is the debut for Jaden Daniels going up against a guy who has absolutely given himself a second life in the NFL. Credit to Baker Mayfield and the Bucks for seeing something in him. Jaden Daniels, I got him as a QB2 in fantasy coming into his debut. He's backed up by Marcus Mariota and Jeff Driscoll, who spent last season starting at least one game for the Cleveland Browns, who I said had 5 different starters at quarterback last year just due to injury. Brian Robinson Jr. at running back, I'm going to have him as an RB2 going into this week. For fantasy, I have Austin Eckler as a flex guy 3, and I have Terry McLaurin as a wide receiver 1. Olamide Zaccheaus, who I covered in Virginia when he was in college. He's a guy who could step things up here with Jaden Daniels. I got him as a sneaky flex wide receiver 3, and we'll see what that looks like. I'm not sold on anybody else. Zach feels so good at Ertz. I have him as a mid-range tight end 1. I think he's a 1, but this game's on the road at the Bucs, and it's Jaden's debut, so let's call him a mid-range tight end 1 to a low 1 for this matchup. On the other side of it, for the hometown team, Tampa Bay at Raymond James Stadium, Baker Mayfield, I like him in this game. I got him as a QB1, maybe a mid-range, but I have him as a QB1. Rashad White, I have him as a running back, low-end 1, high-end 2. Sean Tucker, undrafted free agent out of Syracuse, is back for year number 2 and is back on the 53-man roster. God bless to him for that. I have him as a running back 3. Mike Evans, I have him as a wide receiver 1. Godwin, I have as a wide receiver. Well, I got Mike as wide receiver 1, a little bit ahead of Chris Godwin is what I would say, but both worth the play. And then Payne Durham, who I love from Purdue, he was the tight end for Aiden O'Connell a couple of years ago. I have him as kind of a grab and stash in a deep league. I wouldn't put him out there. Kate, not yet. And Kate Otten, I have as a tight end 2 for this matchup. We're going to come back with Sunday and Monday Night Football after this fast break on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Thank you for being here with us all around the world, and make sure you send in your questions so that I can answer them. Avicoli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicoli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicoli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there, and of course you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100, and also find them on myavicolis.com. That's myavicollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying, in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvelange, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant.
GG Cards and Breaks. Like, comment, subscribe.
GG Cards and Breaks coming to you where you can find all of your sports card and trading card needs. They have basketball, football, baseball, as well as soccer, hockey, all sport, AEW, UFC, Disney Lorcana, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon, Magic the Gathering, so many things. While supplies last, they have singles, graded cards, packs, boxes, so you can go and look for something and get exactly what you're, look at that and say, hey, that's a Brett Beatty auto. Want to bring that home. Ooh, a Jaden Daniels rookie card. Give me that. Ooh, a patch card of Alex Rodriguez. I'm a big Alex Rodriguez fan. I'm not saying that for me, but I'm saying for somebody else, like, hey, I want to bring that home for myself. Or, hey, I need to get my Wembenyama rookie and they got an awesome insert here. I'm going to go ahead and buy that. Or I want to try my luck and get a pack or a box or a few packs, a couple boxes, and see what I can find on my own. It is an awesome place to find treasures, be it cards that are there in their display case or cards that are waiting for you in packs and boxes. You never know what you're going to get, and that is the fun of collecting. So head out to GG Cards and Breaks before somebody else gets there and gets that thing you're looking for. 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York, right off of Teal Ave. Open Tuesday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and on Sundays from 10 to 5. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, the Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub, 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. It's time for me to do our last two games of Week 1. I can't even believe we're in Week 1, but it's Sunday night and Monday night football time. Let's go to the Rams at the Lions. Ooh, the Matt Stafford, Jared Goff Bowl. These teams switched quarterbacks a few years ago. It worked out for the Rams. They won a Super Bowl with Matt Stafford. And it seemingly has worked out for the Lions, who I thought were going to have Jared Goff as a placeholder for a season and then go and draft a quarterback. Well, they did bring in Hendon Hooker, but they brought him in later a couple of years ago in 2023's draft out of Tennessee, and they've been leaning on Jared Goff, and they've done some really good things, and they could be a team that makes it to the promised land this year. So excited for this Sunday night football game. This is one of my probably favorite Sunday night football games I've seen in a long time. Stetson Bennett covered him at Georgia. He's quarterback 2, and Jimmy Garoppolo is now with the Rams. So staying with the West Coast, staying in the NFC West division, but going from the Niners to the Rams. Matty Stafford in this, hey, listen, these guys are going to be slinging it across the yard. They're playing their former team, and this game's going to be in Motor City in Detroit. I got Matt Stafford as a QB1 in this matchup. Kyron Williams, I have him as he's expected to return punts as well. I got him as an RB, probably a mid-range RB1. Blake Corum's making his debut and he got to go to LA, but not to be with Jim Harbaugh. He is not a Charger. He is a Ram after being coached by Jim Harbaugh and winning a national championship with Michigan most recently here. He's listed as the top kick returner. He could be a sneaky flex guy for you as a wide receiver 3, or running back 3, in deep leagues. Now, Puka Nacua is on the injury report, questionable with a knee injury. If Puka is able to go, then I got Puka as a wide receiver 1. I got Kupp as a wide receiver 1 as well. Not trusting anybody in the tight end world for the Rams just yet. Detroit, the home team, Jared Goff, I got him as a QB1 in this one. I got him worth the start in this matchup. I got him and Matty Stafford probably overall of quarterbacks you could play as mid-range ones, but still ones. It's Sunday Night Football, and they're playing, like I said, these games where you play the team that you used to be on, it can be these really massive fantasy outings, and I think this is going to be a really good game. So I got Jared Goff as worth the play. David Montgomery worth the play as an RB1. Jahmyr Gibbs, if he's able to go from his hamstring injury, I got him as an RB1 as well. Amon-Ra St. Brown as a wide receiver 1. Jamison Williams, probably going into this game, I have him as a wide receiver 3. And Sam Laporta, if he's able to go, he has a hamstring injury. If he's able to start, he's a tight end 1. Just monitor that, and God willing, everybody will be okay and get healthy here and get on the field at full go. The last game that we have, I don't know what the NFL is trying to do to Aaron Rodgers, but they put him in prime time last year. He was out there for like a few minutes, and then he was gone for the entire season. So like Anthony Richardson, just at a different point in their career, he's re-debuting for a team. So his re-debut for the Jets just so happens to be Monday Night Football in front of the world on the road against arguably the best defense in the nation in San Francisco. And we're hoping that he stays healthy. And he's starting off the season on the West Coast on Monday night, prime time, and a team that's going to love to get out there and hit him. So Aaron Rodgers, I don't have him as a QB1 in fantasy this week. I want to see him get through the game and be well. And God bless to him as always. Tyrod Taylor is there. Jordan Travis, a guy who I think in a couple of years is going to have the opportunity to be the starting quarterback for the Jets. He is a rookie coming out of FSU, and he is rehabbing from his ACL injury. Breece Hall is, and God willing, he'll get well and stay well. Breece Hall is RB1 for me. Braylon Allen, who they drafted, and Isaiah Davis as well, these young guys. I got him as kind of maybe a grab and stash. Braylon Allen is a 5th running back on your team. Breece Hall is the starter for me. He's RB1. Garrett Wilson is a wide receiver 1. I might temper him to a mid-range because they're playing San Fran. Mike Williams is coming onto the team, coming from coast to coast, west to east from the Chargers. He's on the injury report. He has an ACL injury. He's questionable. If he's able to go, I have him as a wide receiver 3 in this game. Tyler Conklin, I have him as a tight end 2. On the other side of it, for the San Francisco 49ers, who will be hosting, I got Brock Purdy in this matchup. He's playing a good defense as well in this Jets defense. The Jets defense last year had the team in games. If they had a quarterback that was aiding them offensively to score the ball, this team would have been a playoff team last year with the defense that they had. Their defense kept them in it, and God bless them for that. Jermaine Johnson II covered him at Florida State. Ahmad Sauce Gardner covered him at Cincinnati. Brock Purdy, because of the defense he's going up against, I got him as a quarterback 2 this week. Christian McCaffrey, if he's able to go, he has a calf injury. If he's able to go, then I have CMC. How could you not have him out there as an RB1? If he's not, then they don't have a lot of choices. Patrick Taylor, who I covered his team at Memphis, and Jordan Mason. Those are your 2 other names. Elijah Mitchell is injured right now. Jordan Mason comes from Georgia Tech. So it's Christian McCaffrey or bust. If he's able to go, he's an RB1. Deebo Samuel, I got him as a wide receiver 1, maybe a mid-range guy because they're playing the Jets. Brandon Ayuk, he held out, so I'm concerned about him, especially wide receivers and running backs, as I made mention earlier on in the broadcast. When they hold out, they're more susceptible to injury, so I don't like that for him. So I got Ayuk as a wide receiver 2 this week because of that. I got Kittle as a tight end 1. God willing, everybody will be okay, and that is your fantasy coverage. So if you have a question for us and you're watching this on playback, respond to the video directly so that I can see the question and get the alert on YouTube and Facebook. And if you're listening on any one of our channels, well, then feel free to write to me on social media while you listen on Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes and Apple Podcasts, Player FM, Podbean, Podvine, Podchaser.com, as well as on Spotify, TuneIn, and YouTube. All you have to do is search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora or one word Wake Up Call DT to find me on any one of these channels. And make sure you subscribe, follow, whatever it's called on that specific channel so that you can stay connected with us at all times. Many thanks to everybody that watched and listened to us on youtube.com and facebook.com, both /wakeupcalldt, and on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. Make sure that you subscribe and follow us on all of these channels. And of course, thanks to all of our incredible partners in Central and Upstate New York, Carvel DeWitt. Don't forget that Wednesday is Sunday, and what does that mean? It's buy one, get one on Wednesdays, so you can go and enjoy all of the amazing flavors at Carvel DeWitt on 4322 East Genesee Street in DeWitt, New York. And on Wednesdays, my Sunday that is available every day at Carvel DeWitt exclusively, on Wednesdays, it's buy one, get one, so you can get the DT Dolphin in celebration of the Lemoyne Dolphins. And why would you not want to celebrate, especially with the men's soccer team coming off a win over 7th ranked in the nation, Syracuse? You can go right down the road from Lemoyne to Carvel DeWitt, and on Wednesdays like today, get a buy one, get one, 2 DT Dolphins for the price of 1, mint chocolate chip, green of course for the Dolphins, hot fudge, whipped cream and a cherry, green and gold sprinkles, and a chocolate Dolphin jumping onto your whipped cream, only at Carvel DeWitt on 4322 East Genesee Street in DeWitt, New York. The Wildcat Sports Pub, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Avicoli's, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Chick-fil-A Cicero, Brian's Landing, Ma and Pa's, who you just saw at the fair, and now you'll see back at their brick and mortar on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York, as well as at an event. If you want them for your fundraiser or to cater, call 315-450-6272, or if you want their truck out at one of your events, they have a bunch of different trailers that they can bring out, including Spud Shack. That's 315-450-6272 for Ma and Pa's. GG Cards and Breaks, where you can go and collect your favorite players that we talked about today on the show, as well as the rest of the players in the NFL. Pizza Man, Great Lakes, Honda City, Mother's Cupboard, where you can get my exclusive breakfast sandwich. That breakfast sandwich is available to you by going to 3709 James Street in Syracuse, New York. And you can get my sandwich 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. only at Mother's Cupboard. It is called the Cuse McMother, and that Cuse McMother is bacon, egg, and cheese inside of 2 pieces of French toast. Pick it up and eat it like a sandwich. Cut it up and have it with some syrup. However you want it, go and get it today at Mother's Cupboard. And Servomation, who is reinvigorating and reimagining what it is to have vending at your business, at your school, your university, your college, wherever you may be, wherever vending is, you will find Servomation doing things differently. They have an incredible technology. They have vending that you can go and get water and tell them to put a piece of fresh fruit in there, pick the fruit that you want, and it'll drop it in there and bring it out to you. They have their coffee and espresso machines, and of course, they have awesome food choices that come from their massive kitchen that is creating these food opportunities for you. I have never, ever thought when I went up to vending that there was a kitchen like the kitchen that's behind the work of Servomation. So you know if it comes from Servomation vending, it's good stuff and it's good eating. And it is definitely not what you consider vending to be in all of the awesome ways. They are truly something special, and you can find out more by going to servomation.com, and I suggest that you do that today. And of course, we are the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Lemoyne College Dolphins. It's Fins Up every single month. Wednesdays, you know the Dolphins are here with us for Dolphin Time. Wednesdays at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. We just celebrated the Lemoyne men's soccer team, who's coming off of a win over 2022 national champion Syracuse Orange, who are ranked 7th in the nation this season. So massive win, big time shout out to head coach Callum Donnelly, the entire staff, and Jack Goodrich, as well as their entire student athlete squad that they have there for the men's soccer team. The Dolphins, you can find all of our content by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find the Lemoyne Dolphins playlist. You can also find the Dolphins by going to wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab, and go to LeMoyneDolphins.com for all of your Dolphin content coming straight from the school. And fins up. The Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find your Bobcats every month in our specials, which we call the Bobcat Buzz. Like today, when I was on the pitch in the special that we got to share with you, celebrating and ushering in the 2024 season for the Bryan and Stratton College of Syracuse men's soccer team. They are 3-time national champions, and they're trying to make it 4 this year, and I have all the respect in the world for their team and very excited to see the work that they're going to do this year. Shout out to Nick Dimitrievsky and the staff, as well as all of the student athletes, including Jono, Johnny, and Antonio that I got to feature in this edition of the Bobcat Buzz. You can find all of our specials with the Bobcats by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and you'll find our BSC Syracuse playlist. You will also find the Bobcats by going to wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to syracuse.bscbobcats.com and go Bobcats. The Binghamton University Bearcats are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find your Bearcats every Tuesday during Bearcat Time, and that features Bearcat Break Room with student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year telling their story and their connection to Binghamton. And, of course, the Moments with Marshall with Gene Marshall, Binghamton University Athletics Director, giving us a behind-the-scenes look at who the Bearcats are. So appreciate all the work that we get to do with Binghamton University, and you can find all of our content with the Bearcats by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe and hit the notification bell and find the Binghamton playlist. You'll also find the Bearcats by going to wakeupcalldt.com's homepage underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to bubearcats.com, and absolutely, positively, go Bearcats. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, thank you to watching our specials in our previous video for hour number 1 today with Lemoyne and Bryan and Stratton College of Syracuse, and of course being with us for the Fantasy Football Power Hour. Tell your family, friends, coworkers, and colleagues to join us for the Fantasy Football Power Hour, airing between 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and beyond that, we should call it the hours because it's past noon today. It's proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub. Fantasy football coverage and advice every single Wednesday starting at 10 a.m. Eastern Time worldwide on Wake Up Call. Be here with us. Thank you to everybody that sent in their questions. God bless. No stress. Do your best. We'll talk with you all soon. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you tonight at Avicoli's. Looking forward to that. Tonight at Avicoli's, we will be ushering in, speaking of football, we'll be ushering in the football season for the Liverpool Warriors with head coach Joe Sindoni and the Liverpool Warriors football team. We'll be there with them tonight, Wednesday, September 4th, on the pizza casual dining side, and that starts at 7 p.m. So we'll see you at 7 o'clock at Avicoli's. Come out and get some pizza and wings and all of their Italian dishes right there at Avicoli's, 7839 Oswego Road in Liverpool, New York, at the corner of Wetzel Road and Route 57, down the street from Liverpool High School. We will be there with head coach Joe Sindoni and the Liverpool Warriors football program to usher in their season, which starts in just a few days, 7 o'clock tonight. We'll see you there. Be well, stay safe, and